welcome to the outdoors. This is where it's happening. It's our car care segment on the show. And this one, of course, I have with me Miss Shofela, who's going to be talking to us about caring for your car. Now, she's from the Automedics, and she's joining us this morning. Are you ready for us, Ivan?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so this morning we're going to be talking about something regarding belts.
Yes, we're talking about drive belts.
Drive belts. Okay, so drive belts is the international name for it.
It's actually called accessory belts.
Right.
Technically,
Okay, so-
it's called accessory belts, but here in this part of the world, we know it as drive belts or alternator belt or
Okay, so
fan
alternator belt,
belts.
that's the
Yeah.
one I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just have a look at what the alternator belt is,
Okay, to
and
be
then
able
you
to
can
see
tell us what it
properly.
does. Okay, so let's see
Okay,
properly. I think
yes.
if the camera can just get that for us. Okay, there it is.
So there you have the belt. Now what the accessory belt does is it rolls all the components you have here. Components like the alternator, your compressor, water pump, power steering pump.
So it does quite a lot.
It does quite a lot here. Without this belt, I can just tell you this car might not go anywhere because one, the alternator will not run, which means your battery will not be charging. The water pump will not be turning, which means the car could overheat. Power steering pump, for those that use the hydraulic pump, will not be turning, so the steering will be stiff.
Yeah.
The compressor will not turn, so you couldn't use your AC. So the car will practically not
Wow,
be
so
able to go
this is-
too far.
Yeah, so this is why when anything happens to your belt, it's almost like the entire car is affected.
Exactly.
Because it's touching so many.
Touching
different
so
parts.
many different parts. Now, this morning, what I want to bring to our notice is that this belt goes bad, and it goes bad over maybe like 20,000 to like 30 to 40,000 kilometers.
Right.
So you should actually have your mechanic check it off for you. Another thing
Instead
that
of just waiting for
instead
it
of
to-
just waiting for it to snap, because
Yeah.
you could be rushing somewhere and the belt just snaps. You practically have to stop and start getting a mechanic to change it for you.
Alright, so have your belt checked every 20,000 to 30,000.
Exactly. Your mechanic will tell you whether it's due for change or whether you could still use it for some time. Now, there are some cars that use more than one. This car we're looking at here uses just one.
Okay.
Some older cars and even some recent cars we use two. You have one that's running some certain components, another one running some
Does it
other
depend
ones.
on the size of the engine? Because I know that there are some cars.
It doesn't really depend on the size of the engine. I've seen some 4-cylinder engines that use two. I've seen some 6-cylinder engines that use two. So it doesn't really depend on the size
Alright,
of
so
the
let's
engine.
quickly talk about caring for your car belt and then for the drive belt, ensuring that it's properly running throughout the lifespan of the car.
So there's really no basic maintenance you can do for this belt because, like I said, it just drives these components. The only thing you can do is periodically check it. And then sometimes you have the belt, when it becomes too loose, it starts making noise. You have this squealing noise.
Exactly,
You get.
that's what I wanted to ask. Because sometimes there was a time an older vehicle I was using, the drive belt was changed, and then within like a week or so, it started making noise. So I was wondering, okay, this is supposed to be a new belt.
Yes, it could be a new belt, but it might not be the exact size. The squealing comes when the belt is too loose.
Right.
So you have it rolling around a certain roller too fast. So you
Okay,
get that
okay. So
very
that's
squealing noise. Yeah,
that's
it could be
the
the belt. The problem could be from the belt. The problem could be from the roller. If you have a bad roller on the car, any of these rollers here, once it's bad, you'd have that squealing noise also.
Okay, but it's usually sometimes when there's an issue with the belt, you just stop the car, call the mechanic, they come and change it.
You can change it under less than 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes, so it's not a problem if you just get a person to just quickly do it.
No, it's not a problem. The only problem you might have is getting the exact belt and getting a genuine one. Because I've seen cases where you change the belt, within 2-3 days it snapped again.
Exactly. So that's another challenge that I've seen happen, where a lot of times the first time you change a belt is not,
You
it
don't
doesn't
always
work-
get
doesn't work- you don't-
the
you don't
very
get it
good
perfectly
one,
until
yes.
maybe the second
Second
time.
time.
Or something
So
like
it's
that.
always better, probably when you go in for your loop service or your general maintenance, just have your mechanic check it. It's something he will just look at. He'll just have to like tension it like this. Like this belt is still very okay
Yeah.
in tension wise. You can see I
So
can't
it's-
really
it's
push
strong
on it.
and
It's
strong,
strong,
yeah.
exactly. If you push on it and you see it just dips down, then the belt is bad.
And
then
sometimes the belt can be bad without you knowing because it's not giving you any
it won't give
immediate
you
signs.
any immediate signs, but like I said, your mechanic should always check it for you.
Wow.
Sometimes you have cracks on the belt, so when he looks at it, he'll just tell you you need
You
to change this
that
belt.
And it's not
Exactly.
even that expensive.
It's not that
just
expensive.
Something that you can do very quickly. So that's very nice. Thank you so much, Ayo, for
you.
talking to us about caring for your belt, ensuring that you look out for the belt, maintaining you're doing car maintenance every 20,000 kilometers or so, 20,000 to 30,000. Make sure that the belt is checked and probably changed. So what if sometimes after 30,000 kilometers the belt still looks okay?
You can still continue using it.
Okay.
Once your mechanic gives you the assurance the belt is okay, you can still keep using it.
All right. Thank you so much, Ari, for joining us this morning. So yeah, that's about drive belts or alternator belts or fan belts,
whatever it is that you know.
Whatever name that you
exactly.
because most people just call it fan belt. Or my fan belt is bad, or my fan belt is noisy, and things like that. So these are some of the things that you need to know. Thank you so much. Automedics is on Instagram. At
Facebook.
So that's Automedics?
Yeah, Automedics.
Okay. At Automedics on Facebook and on Instagram. You can check her out, of course, and you should be getting more information about how to care for your car and ensure that you don't get into trouble, especially on the Third Milan Bridge.
Welcome back, and it's our auto segment for Monday morning. You know, it's our Monday staple, and we have something quite interesting here. Ayo's in the house. How are you, Nayo?
I'm fine.
Give me a high five.
Good morning.
I love your shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
Very ginger. All right, so this week we're looking at tires, car tires. I know it's going to be something like a series, right?
Yeah, it
okay,
is.
but then we're going to go through the basics today. We're starting about understanding your car tires, how to get the best tires and all of that. So let's get straight to it. How important is it having the right tires you need for your car?
It is very, very important because looking at the tires, you see that that's about the only contact that your car has with the road. So you need to make sure all the time that your tires are...
I like the way you put it. The only contact with the road.
Exactly.
I
It's
love
the only
way you put it.
contact with the
I
road.
love
So
the way you put it.
when it comes to tires, we should not play around with them. Now this morning I'm going to be talking about tire size.
Tire size.
Yes, tire size is very important because I've seen cases where car owners say, my tires are too small, I want to get big tires. At the end of the day, you cause more problem for yourself because you probably get a tire that's too big, it starts rubbing against the body of the car, you start hearing funny sounds, the tire starts wearing out faster than it should. So tire size is very, very important. Now, if we look at this tire, just here, from here to here, we have some digits there. P205 /55 R16. That is the size of the tire. Now, it differs from tire to tire.
Why does it have to be that long?
It has to be that long because it's indicating different things. And I'm going to break that down.
Okay, break it down.
This P stands for passenger car.
Okay.
Yeah, so you would find that we have P, then the 205 is the width of the tire. That's from here to here.
All right, the width of
yes,
this.
in millimeters.
Okay. All right, in millimeters.
Yeah.
All right.
205 is the width. Then 55 is the profile of the tire. That is from here to here.
Okay, okay.
So it differs in size.
It differs.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Now the R is stating that it's a radial tire.
Radial,
That's
yeah,
based
sure.
on the way the tire is made, and the 16 is your rim size. That's from here.
From here to here. I get that now. Wonderful. All right. So now all these specifications are to be taken into consideration when getting your tire size. So, but then now, okay. So for instance, now we have this here. What happens? You made mention of the kind of things that happen when you use a bigger tire.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. What are the disadvantages of using a tire that's actually bigger? What else? What else could it do apart from rubbing against this? What are the disadvantages?
The major thing it's going to do is rubbing against the tire, rubbing against the car.
The car.
Then you're going to have a not too comfortable ride.
Okay.
Because one, when the tire is too big, it's going to be causing a whole lot of banging against the suspension parts and things like that. So the ride is not going to be comfortable.
All right, then now let's go to smaller. What if it is smaller?
If it's smaller, you're going to have higher fuel consumption in the car. Yeah.
How so?
Now that is because when the tire is too small or smaller than what it actually should be, you're going to have more. You're going to try to have more movement with the car. You're trying to accelerate more, but the tire is not going to be turning as fast.
Responding, okay.
Exactly. So you're putting more drag on the car engine.
You're putting more drag, and that makes it, wow. So that means that there has to be now, does it happen, that means that for every car there's an exact size. It's
an exact size, and there is a size above. The manufacturer will give you a size above and a size below. You should not go beyond that. Some manufacturers will stick with one size, and some will give you an allowance to move a size above or a size below.
All right, now people, now I found out that because of people want to pimp their car, they want to make it
I
flashy
understand,
and all
yeah.
of that. That's where this issue of bigger tires really comes in. When
Exactly.
people want to pimp their cars, what advice would you have for somebody who wants to, who wants to make over, wants to do some makeover or pimp as we call
Follow
it, and then.
manufacturer specification.
But then, but see, if they wanted to follow manufacturer's specification, they would want to go pimp the car.
You can actually still pimp your car and follow manufacturer specification. Like I said, some manufacturers give you allowance.
Okay.
So you can just follow that allowance and go for a bigger tire, which is still within specification,
okay.
or you could go for a smaller tire, still within specification.
Okay, now let's go about something. Let's just enter a bit about the care of the tire, right?
Okay.
Now, the care of the tire. Let's look at it now. How often should you check the tire, and how do you know that maybe you probably need to change it or something?
Well, I always advise clients that when you take your car in for servicing, have your mechanic check everything on the car. That involves checking the tires also. Now, once you start noticing that you're having cracks, like this is a very good example.
Okay, so
you
now
will
there are
notice
cracks
there
on
are
this one
cracks
now,
on
yes.
this. It tells you the tire is already beginning to wear out. Now, cracks is one thing. Another thing would be the threads. These lines here are the threads of the tire. This is
Okay.
what actually makes contact with the road.
With the road.
When these threads start wearing out to the extent that you just have a flat surface, it's not good.
It's not
because
good.
now there's no traction with the road at all.
If you apply your brakes and all that, you cannot grip the road well and all of
Exactly,
that.
and it's even worse when it gets into the rainy season.
Exactly, and then oil. That one is
Exactly.
just even terrible.
It's
That one's just
terrible.
terrible. So, but you said something about servicing. So that means on the average, how often should I go for servicing for the car?
The servicing
then
for
check
the
the
car is
tires.
like 3 months. We
Okay.
always advise 3 months.
Okay.
You shouldn't exceed 3 months. So every 3 months, just have your mechanic check your tires.
Right now, there's something I've also seen where some cars have tires that are not well aligned.
Exactly.
Wheel alignment. How does that come into play? How important is it that your car tires are aligned?
All right, alignment has to do with making sure that the tire sits on the road and the center of the tire, like from here to here, is actually in contact with the road.
With the road.
Now, when the tire is poorly aligned, you can
Okay.
have it poorly aligned like this,
Exactly.
which means that the outer area of the tire will wear out faster. Or it could be poorly aligned like this.
Okay.
The inner side of the tire will wear out faster.
Okay.
Now, that has to do with suspension parts. When suspension parts starts going bad, you start having problem with alignment. It's not the tire that causes the alignment issue. It's suspension parts.
Suspension parts.
that cause
Yes, so you
alignment
find that
issues.
cars that are accidented, mostly. I've seen a friend, a friend got this car, it was quite a new car, they sent it down, and then we also saw that, the alignment wasn't
Tire
good.
was
But he
bad.
didn't mind, look at, hey, I can move on all of that and all of that. So, but sorting it out, you have to go
You
through
have to go
into
into the suspension part.
suspension
Things
parts.
like the lower arm, when the lower arm bushing is cut or damaged, you find that it shifts out, so the tire would bend. Or when you have changed your tire rods, while changing it, you have to make sure you do alignment also.
What are the worst things that could happen if your wheel is not aligned while driving the car?
You have a case where the tire wears out and wears out and wears out until it gets to the threads inside the tires. Now that's dangerous. That's the worst.
At
that can
times
happen.
there's a reason why I asked that particular question, because at times some people need to know the consequence of what they are doing or what they should,
Yeah,
before they
exactly.
understand and why they should
Exactly.
do it. So it also wears off. Now I've seen some cases whereby I think that has to do with the suspension, where cars are moving and all of that, and then you just see the tire just comes out.
That's not a tire problem.
That's
now.
not a tire problem.
That's a suspension
That's a
problem.
suspension
where you
problem.
have the suspension parts going bad, which obviously has been giving the owner signs over time.
Exactly. Now
but
that's the signs. Yes. Let's talk about those signs. Let's talk
in
about
this
those
part of
signs.
the country, we ignore those signs a lot. We just hear, my car is still moving, I can still continue going. Just
Which
take
is-
me to where I'm going.
We're like that with almost everything.
Everything, and you find out that you're probably in a hurry that morning and then it just pops out.
All right, thank you so much. This has been quite an expose on tires. I know we'll still continue on other
We're
parts
still
on the
going to
tires.
continue on the
All
parts.
that, but thank you very much. So
welcome.
yeah, this is not a good tire. There's too
It's
much.
definitely not a good tire.
So not because you saw this one here and say, my tire's like this, I'm okay. You're not okay. Thank you very much, Ayo.
Good
Thank you very much.
tire. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the outdoors, and we promised that we're going to be talking to you about tires today. And Ayo Shofela is joining us this morning to talk to us about caring for our tires. Now, last week, you took us through. Let's go over what we did last week and then start on what we want to talk about this week.
All right, we spoke about tire size last week. We spoke about alignment and how it affects the tire
Yeah.
wear. And we spoke about tires, big and smaller tires on the
Right.
car, the effect of putting the big tires on the car and the small tires on the car. So
Yeah.
today we're going to be looking at tire pressure.
Tire pressure, very important because
very, very
especially when you
important.
do long distance and things like that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and in this part of the country, a lot of people, they just ignore the idea of putting the correct tire pressure
Yeah.
in their tires. Now, every tire has a specific amount of pressure that it can take. Manufacturers will take their time to put the maximum amount of pressure that a tire can take on the body of the tire.
Right.
So you see tires carrying things like 50 psi, 44 psi,
Nobody
55
reads that.
PSI.
Like people generally don't read it. So
Vulcanizers actually read it. Those
Okay.
who inflate the tires will read it, but they actually read a wrong meaning into it.
okay, right.
So you see
right.
a vulcanizer telling you that your tire is supposed to take 50 psi, whereas that is the maximum amount of pressure
It should
that
take.
the tire can handle. On the side of the door, the manufacturer will tell you the adequate amount of pressure to put in the tire, which will be around 35, 30, sometimes 40, which is like very, very rare, but 35 and 30 is usually very common. That's because once you start driving and the tire starts getting hot, pressure is going to build up in the tire. So you find that if you start your journey with
I'm not
35
sure
PSI,
if we can open the door and actually check
Okay.
where these things are written,
It's
and if the camera can just help
somewhere
us catch
here.
it.
This is it here.
Okay, so we have it over here. I don't know if we can get a
This
camera here.
is recommended inflation pressure. You
Okay,
can
so
see
it's
that.
called recommended inflation pressure.
And it indicates that it should be done when the tires are cold,
Not when you have been driving for a long
not
time.
when you've been driving for a long time. So
Yeah, but if you're going to drive from your house to the vulcanizer, it'll already be hot.
yeah, it happens.
So, okay,
in this
for
part
this
of the
car,
country.
what we have here, so where's the recommended PSI?
You have this as index PSI here, 32.
Okay, so it should be
It tells
32.
you front and back 32 with normal load. With maximum load, it should still stay at 32.
Wow. So we can. So once you check, so do all cars have it here, or do
Yeah,
they have
all
it
cars carry it here. All
Okay.
modern cars carry it here.
Okay.
Older cars will carry it inside the
inside the
fuel
bag?
cap.
Right.
Once you open your fuel cap,
Okay,
you
so
see
what's
there.
the effect of having it too high or too low?
If it's too high, you would find out that the center of the tire is all that will make contact with the road.
If
So
it's too high.
Yeah, if it's too high, you all just have this area of the tire making contact with the road, which means that this area will wear out faster than this
Oh,
side.
right,
So that's
right.
why you see some tires, the sides are okay, but the center is gone.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that a lot, especially even with my car as well. Okay, so we have the center wears out. What if the tire pressure is too low? What happens?
If it's too low, the sides wear out faster than the center because now the sides will be sagging and sitting on the road. So you find that the two sides will wear out faster than the center of the tire.
Right. Okay, so we checked the tire pressure, recommended tire pressure inside. Is there a recommended tire pressure written on the body of the tire?
Yes,
itself?
it is, but I don't think the camera might be able to pick it up.
Okay,
This
the
is
camera
you
might not
see,
pick it. Okay, so for this one it's
65
65.
PSI.
So that means this is a large tire.
Yeah,
Obviously,
this is for a
this is for
light
a truck.
yeah.
For a light truck, because I can see it written there
A light
as well.
truck,
It's
yeah.
written light truck on it. So this is slightly larger. That's why the pressure should be 65.
Exactly.
And then for this one,
The
obviously
pressure
this
usually
is a
like
smaller.
50 or so.
This is a smaller car.
Maximum pressure 44 psi.
Okay, 44 will be the maximum.
Exactly.
So wow. So these are some of the things that we need to learn instead of just allowing.
Just going to your vulcanizer and saying, please inflate my tires. And then he just pumps 44 in.
Yeah.
Now, the disadvantage of that is once you start driving, the pressure is going to build up because we know how heat and pressure work together. Once the tire starts getting hot, pressure is going to start expanding the tire, which means you could start your journey with 35 psi and end it with like 60.
Wow.
And that could cause a blowout. That's one of the major causes of blowouts on the road.
When the tire expands.
Once the air becomes too much in the tire.
So
and
in that case, isn't it better to just leave it in a lower pressure and then so that when it expands,
Well,
it's now.
with the technologies we have on cars now,
Yeah.
tire pressure monitoring system, it will keep warning you that the tires are too low.
Well, yeah, my car does that, so it gives you an indication. There's a sign that it gives you
exactly.
that it's either too low or too high and
Exactly.
things like
So
that. So
you,
that there's a
you should
balance.
just try as much as possible. What I advise customers or car owners to do is have a portable gauge in your car. So in the morning before you go out, just check Anyone that's low, the ones they sell on the market now are even battery operated. You
Yeah.
just connect it to your battery.
Just like
and then,
a small thermometer
Exactly.
kind of thing that you just
And
stick
then
in there.
reflate
all
your
of that.
tires.
So how about when I go to the vulcanizer? Sometimes
Insist-
I'm focused on just one tire.
Okay.
And because that's the
That's the one
where I
that's
feel the
obvious,
issue is. Yeah. So,
exactly.
but should the vulcanizer also check everything?
Yes, he should check everything, and you should insist that he follows the recommended pressure. Exactly.
Okay, because I've seen a situation where some people will drive up to the vulcanizer and say, "Give me 40 all around."
That's because
'Cause you
they've
already know-
known
you already know
from
your
time
pre-
that
okay.
40, 40, 40. And then there are times when you tell him put 30 and he says, oh, no, 30 is not going to be enough.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
cannot, funny enough, if you look at a tire with 30 PSI and a tire with 45 PSI, you would not be able to visibly see the difference. That's
Right,
because
right,
you
I
would not be
understand.
able. You see them hitting, pounding the tire, just that doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
always better to insist on the correct
Very nice.
pressure.
So, what other care do I need to focus on with regards to tires? Because I know that we're rounding off our tire discussion this week.
We also need to look at balancing. Balancing is very important when it comes to tires. As a tire is this way, once you put it on the rim, you're not going to have even weight distribution on the tire. If you put it on the car like that,
Once it's been separated from the rim,
once it's been separated and put back, you're not going to have even weight distribution on the tire. Even from the factory, they will tell you that you don't have even weight distribution. So once you put it on the car and you start driving, you find that sometimes you have vibration.
Yeah.
It feels like the car is
Yeah,
not
that happens a
balanced
lot,
on
yeah,
the road.
yeah.
You should always take your car to a balancing center where they would have additional weights that they add to the tire. They spin it on the machine tells you the particular area of the tire where it's not balanced, and then they add additional weights to it. That's also very important.
Okay, so balancing is
Balancing
really, really
is
important.
very, very important.
But how about sometimes when even if you don't separate it, after a while of driving, you just discover that it
Yeah, it
shakes, or
happens
maybe you
over
run
time.
into a pothole or something. That happens as well.
It happens over time. It happens when the tire starts wearing out. For instance, you start having bulges on the tire. You find that those areas will not be balanced anymore. So you take it to a balancing center and they will either tell you that, okay, we can balance this, or the tire is not good anymore. So balancing is very, very important. Then one last thing we also need to put into consideration is tire rotation. Most car
Rotation.
owners don't know about tire rotation.
Most car owners don't know anything about anything. You know how it is now.
It's
You
always
just-
good to read up about
Yeah,
your
yeah,
car.
yeah.
So tire rotation involves moving your tires from either front to back or back to front. It differs from vehicle to vehicle.
Right, okay. So we should actually do that.
You're actually supposed to do that. This is a saloon car. The way you rotate your tires on this will be different from the way you rotate your tires on an SUV.
So you move the tires from the front
To the back,
and then the,
from
the
back
ones
to
in the back to the front. Okay.
Yeah, depending on the kind of car you're driving, you could move from driver side front to passenger side back, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just carry it back and then from back to the front.
Okay, so I like that. I mean, so these are some of the things that we're learning that are really, really important. One last thing before we round off. I know that a lot of people can't afford new tires.
Okay.
And so a lot of times what you would find, especially in Nigeria's markets, is that people like to buy used tires. Is it
tires.
advisable under any circumstance?
Well, I don't advise to go for used tires because one, you don't know the condition of the tires you are getting. Then two, the safety agencies in this country might not allow that because of what we call tire expiry dates. The tire always carries a manufacturer date. It doesn't carry an expiry date.
Yeah.
So what you do is you add 4 years to
To
the
the
manufacturing
manufacturing
date.
date,
For
okay.
instance, on this car, you have 3818. This is the manufacturing date. It's always after the DOT, Department of Transport.
Right,
So
right.
that tells you that this tire was manufactured
In-
38th week of 2018.
Right, right.
The first 2 are for the week, the last 2 are for the year.
Yeah, so that's just a few months ago. So obviously 4 years
So
after.
4 years to this will tell you when it will expire. But then one thing we don't look at is that once the tire has started rotating on the road, it hardly expires that way.
Yeah.
It's only when it's been stacked up on the shelf.
That it would
The rubber
expire.
will start delaminating and things like that.
All right,
That is when
we have to
shelf
round
life.
off now. But if you have comments, please send them to our social media platforms. Use the hashtag #WakeUpNigeria. And also, if you want to send our messages directly, you are at Automedics
Yes.
on Instagram,
Instagram.
and, of course, on Twitter as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
welcome.
And it's always really, really great having you on the show
Thank
every
you.
Monday.
All right, so We've been on our auto series for a while now, for over 3 to 4 weeks, and we've looked at our engine, we've looked at our tires. Today, we are going to be looking at warning lights. Now, this one is quite big, and I'm quite excited about what I'm going to learn today. The one and only Ayo is in the house. How you doing, Ayo? Give me 5. Okay, so we're looking at warning lights today.
Exactly.
Okay, first of all cars have lights, but like there are some that don't have lights. You know. So
I understand what
you understand what I'm saying, right? Okay,
mean.
but then we're talking about cars that have lights and send signals, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go.
Now, all cars have warning lights. All cars, as far back as the year 2000,
Okay.
have warning lights.
So
You
why
even
isn't
find
cars
some.
older than that?
You even find some 1999, 98, 97 cars that have warning lights because
Okay.
the onboard diagnostic system came on board as far back as 1994. But the kind of system they were using then was a little bit different from what modern day cars use. So what happens is when you put the ignition of the
Ignition
car
on,
on,
okay.
just like this, you find out that a whole lot of lights come up on the instrument cluster. These are warning lights. What the system is doing at that period is it's going through all the electronic and electrical systems of the car and
Okay.
it's checking for faults.
For faults.
Yeah. Computer does that.
All
It
right.
goes around, checks for faults. Now you find out that if there is a fault, once you start the car, which I just did,
Okay.
the lights remain on.
The lights remain on. So now what we're saying is that the lights could come on after turning on the ignition, but then when you start the car, if there are no faults, the lights will go
The
off.
light should go off.
Okay.
That is the normal way the system should work.
Should work,
So
okay.
now you find that this light here that looks like a fan or something is a
Yeah.
check engine sign.
The check engine sign, okay.
That is indicating that there's something wrong in the engine.
Okay, so that's the one last down there. That's the,
Yeah,
the
the
yellow
last
one there.
yellow one,
The
yeah.
amber one there.
Yeah, it's-
So there's something wrong with this engine now.
Yes,
That
it's
this thing
indicating
just
that
did-
there's something wrong with this engine.
Okay, well, it's not. Does it specify exactly what is wrong?
No, it doesn't. We
It
have
just lets you know that there's a problem somewhere.
exactly. We
Okay.
have close to almost 40, 50 sensors on the vehicle, if not more
Okay.
than that.
All right.
Now, it's telling you that among those 40, 50 sensors, there's something wrong somewhere. It could be 2, it could be 5, it could be 7, it could be more than that.
It could be all.
It could be all. Exactly.
Okay, so let's move to the next one.
The next one, above it, you have the red seat belt
That's airbag.
sign.
Yes,
Yeah.
the airbag sign
It's
and seat belt.
indicating that there's something wrong with the airbag.
I beg, is there something not wrong with this car? The airbag is a big one. Okay, so that means you have to check for airbag.
You have
All right,
to check
moving
for
on from that, what's the
airbag.
next one?
Moving to the next one, the ABS.
Okay,
it's an
brake
amber
system,
light.
yes.
That is anti-lock braking system.
Yeah, the braking
contrary
system.
to what mechanics tell you, that it's automatic brake system or assistant
I used to
brake
think it
system.
was automatic brake system.
No, anti-lock,
Anti-lock brake
brake
system.
system.
Okay.
It prevents the wheels from locking up when you're braking suddenly. So you can still have control over the car. Now you
Okay.
notice if you slam on the brake and it doesn't have an ABS, the wheels will all lock up, which means the car will just skid and keep going and keep going. No braking force whatsoever. But with this, it pulses the brake. So you find that it will stop, release, and gradually you come to a halt.
Wow. Okay, now this one in the center is quite very obvious. My seat belt is not on.
Exactly, we're not using the seat belts.
Okay.
That's very,
But there's
very
one supposed
obvious.
to identify for the driver and the passenger, or does it use the same one?
It depends on the kind
car.
of vehicle you're dealing
Okay.
with. Now, over here, you'd see passenger
Airbag.
airbag.
Oh, okay.
This is indicating that you're sitting on the passenger seat.
Seat,
The airbag
okay.
has been activated to come up if there is a fault,
Okay.
and you're not using your seat
My
belt.
seat belt.
Exactly.
This is quite cool. All right, now I can see that you have a scanner here, some sort of this. I first of all thought it
diagnostic
was
tool.
a pad. Okay. Okay. So now this is a diagnostic tool. What is
Exactly.
this used for?
This is plugged to the vehicle, somewhere under here.
Okay.
It's for your mechanic actually. He plugs it to the car and then he puts on this scanner and he can communicate with the vehicle computer to find out what is wrong on the car.
Wow.
So it's not magic, it's not any serious thing. Your mechanic should actually be able to communicate with the car and tell you. So if you take your car to a mechanic and he tells you, that light is plugs, don't believe that.
Okay. So this diagnostic tool, is this just a normal iPad or this is a specialized kind?
This is a specialized kind of
boy, it's
tool.
like you can still play Candy Crush on this one.
You can actually. It's Android operated.
It's
You
Android
have the
operated.
Play Store and everything on
No,
it.
they should not. People are still seeing Snapchat. Is this thing supposed to be
You
something
can
serious?
communicate. You have emails, which
Okay.
when you finish diagnosing, you can just send the report directly to the customer's email or to the client. It's very, very advanced. Now, one more thing I want to chip in. You can see that the lights are in different colors.
True.
You have red, you have amber. Red is critical. once you see a light come up in red, it is critical. Like this one here.
Okay,
with the caution
I
sign,
didn't see this. Let's look at this.
with the caution sign is your brake light. It's warning you that there's something wrong with the real brake system of the car, not the anti-lock brake system. There are two systems now. This one is telling you that either your brake fluid is low, or your handbrake switch has a problem, or the foot brake switch has a problem. Yeah,
the light is too.
Cars have so many. This is a pretty simple car.
Okay.
When you move to things like German cars, likes of the Benz, like of the BM, the Volkswagen, you won't be seeing just these few lights.
There will be plenty. Okay, so but why is the ABS yellow? Does it mean that there's a fault with the ABS?
What it's telling you with the ABS is there's a fault, but it's not a critical fault. This can still get you to a garage or to a workshop where you can check it. But if it comes up in red, then it tells you that it's really, really critical.
Okay, and then we can see one that the doors are open,
The doors,
right?
that's for the open
That's
door.
for the
Then
doors.
this last one down here,
Okay.
that's the steering wheel. Now
Alright.
this will come up because the ABS is on. They are connected.
Alright.
The steering wheel works with the ABS as well. The sensors that are connected.
Thank you so
between the
much.
two
Ayo.
of them.
Thank you so much. This was quite an interesting one. I think our best episode yet. Check out your car. Check out your cars, and yeah, make sure that you have you ensure that everything you do diagnostic test and all of that in administrative places. Thank you very much, Ayo.
Alright.
Okay, yeah, that's all we can take today on our auto series. It was quite interesting. I'm sure we'll definitely have this on social media for those of you that missed it. You can check it out. It's Wake Up Nigeria. There's a whole lot more coming on the show.